Hey there, everybody. Welcome. It's a lovely day in the fall here, and I hope you all are feeling the fall weather and enjoying it. I guess that's only if you're in the northern hemisphere. Um, but it's changing, right? And whenever the season changes, especially into the fall and the winter, I really, really love it. I used to really, really love the spring and the summer, and I still do. However, I really like the cocooning time of year. And I might touch base on that a little bit here as well in what we're going to talk about today. So, this is Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment. And if this resonates with you, then you are welcome to subscribe and like. And we're going to talk a little bit about our consciousness, perspectives, perceptions. And as we move into this next year, as we continue to bridge the old paradigm into the new, what doesn't work and how we can be more open to our consciousness expanding and leaping. So I did a longer video kind of on that specifically over on my Patreon page, and I just did it earlier. So it's a little bit more detailed. It's got a little bit more personal examples in it, and we touched on some pretty specific points that we're not going to do here necessarily. But if you want to hop over there, and it goes into much more detail on the expansion process and how we can be really checking in with ourselves on what are we perceiving, what are we open to perceive, and our openness to perceive more is what helps us see more. So as we're moving through these next few months of the fall and winter up here in the north, we're getting a lot of promptings that these next months are going to be really important for us to hunker down, right? Find more stillness, find more quietude, really start connecting with our own heart center more, and with our own grounding internally. Talking a lot about this, and I know I'm not the only one, but the opportunities that we have are being compounded for our next level trajectories into 2026. And yet we really have to be in relationship with it and saying yes to it and allowing ourselves the spaciousness in order to receive the new information that is coming in. So winter is perfect for that. Fall and winter, that is what nature has designed for us to do, that. To come inside, to slow down, to pull our energy in from going and distractions and a lot of the noise in the external, and to come into the internal, right? The spring and the summer give us a lot of that masculine side of us, that outward momentum, that fire and doing and achieving and, maybe going after goals, things like that. The fall and the winter is the feminine. It's time to come in and receive and take a pause from everything that has been done, to retreat within and focus inward. And this is actually how we integrate, how we reap the rewards of the wisdom, how we come into deeper balance and how we come into that deeper soul presencing. That is the feminine. This is the dance in this expression of the masculine and feminine with the seasons. So what I want to talk a little bit about, and again, we went into more detail. When we're taught in Patreon, getting ahead of myself, when we're talking about what's coming in or what really is already landing for a lot of us, we talk about the new earth, right? The new paradigm, this new era, the new age, heaven on earth, whatever it is that we want to call it. And we can only perceive this new reality if we're open to it, number one. And number two, by being open to it, we're in relationship to our own expansion of consciousness. And one of the things that I was talking about, do I need these? Maybe not. One of the things that I was talking about over on the other video has to do with, there were those examples that I was sharing. Sorry, I think I do. There were those examples that I was sharing about how when the Americas were discovered, the natives in the land, as the ships were coming ashore, they did not see them or perceive them because they were so outside of their realm of grokking, right? It was so unfamiliar that they did not really see the ships until they were right there. And this has everything to do with our ability to not just perceive, but to have a different state of consciousness. And when we experience something directly is when our consciousness is able to shift. And then the other example I was talking about was the 100th monkey theory, and how at whatever point, right, of that 100th monkey, there comes a tipping point, and at that tipping point, you have a group of, let's just say, those 100 monkeys, right, that have all experienced the same thing, and they've shifted in their state of perception, perspective, and consciousness. And once it hits a certain number, you hit a tipping point, and then that sort of transmits into a group consciousness, into a group awareness, into a collective accessibility of a new paradigm. This is very much where we're at with the ascension process. And there are still many people who aren't really aware that there is this mass awakening going on, because maybe they haven't had an experience enough or a transmission that activates their awareness to be able to perceive a very different reality. There are many of us who are already, tapping into and learning how to operate in the consciousness and frequencies of this new earth reality, and who are experiencing it. We're peeking into it. We're maybe spending, little bits of expansive time into it. Most of us are aware that part of all of this expansion, all of nature is showing up more consciously as well. Water is expressing its consciousness. other living beings, such as trees and plants and the earth, um, are now expressing consciousness. So my sense is maybe they've already always been conscious, but we haven't had the perception to of our consciousness to meet that consciousness, right? So another example I gave on the other video had to do with in LA right before I moved. Friends of my ex-husband and I, they had started the what's now called it was the first Disclosure Fest in Los Angeles, in downtown Los Angeles. And so they brought in Robert Bingham, who was known as the UFO Whisperer. And and in the middle of downtown in this park, he summoned, right, a number of different kinds of ships and galactics, right, and visitors from other planets. And he had his little perch up on this bridge in the park, and all day long there were UFOs, different types of them. There was primarily the more sphere, orb-like, glowing. They could, dart in and out. They disappear like in an instant as they move from one place to the next. And it was so amazing and magical to like just see them all in the sky for us, right? Coming to show themselves because they had been in a friendly way summoned and invited, and of course they already know, where we're at in our consciousness. But what was so interesting was that not everybody could see them. So while many of us were in awe and enjoying all of the shows that they were giving, there were so many other people that were like, we don't see anything. Like, there's nothing up there. You guys are just, you're imagining things, da 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 da. And so it really struck me how to those of us who had already had this level of awakening, and for me personally, the awakening to the galactic connection and perception came in when I started speaking light language. I didn't have that before. And then when the light language came in, then I was started orienting and started to access my star families. And and then witnessing this entire fabulous show, but not everybody had activated or was willing, right? Or was open to that being real. So one of the things that I think it's important as we go forward is, what do we believe is real and not real? Because the things that we don't believe are real, we're not really going to be able to perceive, at least. I mean, I don't think that's like 100% true, but because I think there will be things that are going to be overt enough that we will not be able to unsee. But at this point, there are many people who are still clinging on to the old 3D, very physical world paradigm. And even as that paradigm is crumbling, they're trying to keep it activated. They're trying to keep it running the way that it's always been. But we've hit this tipping point, and the systems are not meant to continue functioning in the way they've been functioning. And so if we don't know that there is a bigger view, if we have not awakened yet to the stair steps of the next realities to really understand that we're living in a multi-dimensional spectrum of reality. The 3D is not the only one. Once we hit 5D, or even high 4D, and I don't think many of us can maintain and sustain for consistent all my life or all my days in a row. I can't anyway, in that 5D. But once we access this, we're very clear of what the difference is. We're clear, oh yeah, no, this is only that level. And there's so much more than that. But when we're here, it's like we haven't come through that ceiling yet, that glass ceiling of perception, to know that there's more. And if we're not open and willing to expand and to expand our heart to heal our dense consciousness and our 3D programmed and conditioned consciousness, or to see outside the boxes, then that level and segment of the population is not going to see the magic that's happening. They're not going to be able to feel it. They're not going to understand how some of us are living really free from the tethers and the the cords of the density. It's not going to make sense. It's going to be seen as probably being airy-fairy and all love and light, or spiritual bypassing, that type of thing. But most of the time, when we're able to perceive these next levels, we can perceive them because we've actually done the deeper work. We've already been clearing all of that for a long time. So we haven't bypassed anything. We simply have been doing the do, which has allowed us then to come into more sustainable levels of consciousness that are higher perception. And so I want to talk about, these are stepping stones, right? These are ladders. We don't really know yet where it ends. And the old way, we used to be able to go yeah, here's my 5-year plan. And the 5-year plan will work if you're going to maintain operating on the 3D level. Whatever that's going to look like, I don't really know. And that will be what probably some people will choose or keep trying to hang on to, perhaps, unless the crumble is so complete. I don't know. But when we're operating in these higher dimensional frequencies, time is very different, and our way of operating is motivated by very different things. They're spirit motivated, right? They're soul motivated. They're divinely motivated. They're love motivated. They're growth and expansion motivated. They're more natural time, sacred rhythm motivated, right? So that's very different than the 3D model that's very linear and concrete, and it operates within linear time. We're not operating in linear time in these higher realms, and on not on and in the cultivation of accessing and acclimating to these higher frequencies, we have to disengage even more from those 3D constructs, right? We have to learn kind of, you know how when you're out in the woods and when you're just sort of, it becomes kind of spacious and timeless, and you're a little bit more floaty, and your brain waves have changed from the beta, really in your head brainwave, to the alpha brainwave states. Once we hit that alpha brainwave state, it's a whole different thing, right? You're more in the imaginal realms. You're more in that free flow. You start to move out of the linear time, and you're in the flow of life. To maintain these higher dimensions, we have to learn how to live like that. And that means that it makes it really hard to have regular schedules, right? Or have a job that's 9 to 5, or to imagine that you know who and what and how you're going to be from today to sometimes even 6 months from now, right? It's changing so fast. And the word on the, the word on the street is that it's only going to get faster. Our transformation, and I talked about this in the Patreon video, and you can get that for free. You have to be a free member, but you can, you don't have to be a paid member to get that. Transformation is going to require that we keep letting go, and we keep letting go, and we keep letting go of all of the ways in which we've operated from a limited consciousness. We all have the capacity to move into the ascension, which is the remembering of who we truly are and how we're really designed to operate. But we have to let go of the belief systems and the thoughts and the programs that none of this is real, or it's all hoo-ha, or it's not the right way to God, so to speak. So we all are going to get this opportunity to be like everybody in the park watching the UFOs. And it's like, well, some of us are going to be able to watch the UFOs. Some of us are going to be flourishing and thriving in a way that is divinely guided and soul presenced and living vitally, because the choices that we make move us in that direction, and we get that assistance from all of the help on the higher dimensions to do this. But we have to say yes. We have to engage, right? We have to be willing and open to believe that life is actually very different from the life that we've known. I think that's kind of it. So the invitation, the questions is, and I did this kind of at the end of the other one. This is much more concise for a change. This is only 25 minutes, and the other one is almost an hour. So the questions are: what are you not willing to look at or believe that is possible, right? What potentials do you not believe are real? What realities do you not believe are real? Do you believe that there's a beautiful fairy realm, that is alive and well in the forests? Or that you can create, right, that fairy realm in your own garden and in your own land? If you don't believe it, if you're not really even open to explore that, then you won't be able to perceive it, even if it's right in front of you. If you don't believe that we're living multidimensionally and that we have multidimensional selves that are communicating with us and helping us to evolve and becoming us, right? And we're becoming those higher qualities of consciousness, then you'll maintain having a glass ceiling, and your choices will be maintained from a 3D perspective. And if you don't believe that you are creating your reality all the time, right, then you're going to keep feeling maybe like a victim of your reality, or you're going to keep feeling like you've got to strive and prove and work hard to manifest. Whereas it's changing, where we are co-creating with all of these realms through love and through matching our frequency to those frequencies, right? Raising our frequency and our inner state. I did a video yesterday over on Patreon on our inner state. And that is how we will begin co-creating. Love is the key. And I don't mean personal love. I mean unconditional love, which the human mind cannot 100% grok at this point in time. Nor can we really know it on a, I think, grander scale. Because we just haven't hit those frequencies yet. But that is what is being cultivated. That is what we're asking over these next few months, is to really start tuning in and clearing away whatever separates us from love, from being able to love deeply, from being able to receive love. These are personal levels. We start from the personal. To be able to come into divine neutrality and divine love, unconditional love, and then we start moving into harmonizing all of the density and polarity into love. Love is how we access these higher realms. That's the safety net, right? For the higher dimensions, right? That's the safe key. So that, anything that's destructive, that isn't of love, doesn't operate there. And so this is part of our ascension and our evolution and our remembering, is we're returning to these states that we already have within us, that are divinely connected. And yet, if we don't believe this is possible, if we're not willing to expand our consciousness, then it won't be our reality. We have a choice. And we have choice after choice after choice after choice in how we align with this very rapid becomingness of a very different kind of humanity. So it's very exciting, and it's very fascinating, and we can't really plan for it, and It's the living mystery, right? It's the living mystery unfolding. And what we get to do is we get to go along on this ride of life with the capital L, a divine expression of God, of the universe, of source, of infinity. And it's fueled by love. Capital Love. How's that? All right, so with that, sending you much love. And you can hop over to Patreon. I will put the link below. And I'll be back probably not for a couple days here. All right. Blessings.